So, Sonia, welcome to this interview. Thank you very much for joining me here. I'm very excited to engage in a conversation with you to learn more about your personal and professional immunity to change work. So I'm hoping you could share with us when you began this ITC work.
Well, Kathy, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my experience. I started immunity to change in April this year with quite a big number of coaches from the banking sector, the insurance business, the pharmaceutical industry, and a non-profit organization. As we were approaching the portfolio client period, I made a deliberate decision to take on board as many clients as possible for better learning. But at the same time, I primarily focused on self-exploration, which led me to conclude that continuous self-learning lies at the heart of effective immunity to change coaching.
Excellent. So you engaged in this ITC work by yourself and both with your clients. So how have you experienced immunity to change approach in your client work?
I experienced immunity to change as a solution-based approach hitting the heart of organizational effectiveness. All my clients have seen how we become the main contributors of our own obstacles. They begin to experience progress soon as they bring the big assumptions into their awareness. At that point, they see new opportunities and they refuse to settle for anything less. The challenge thereafter is to manage their impatience and keeping them away from jumping into quick fixes.
Ah, interesting. So how does this compare to your ITC coaching process as an individual when you experienced the coaching?
Despite my perceived low profile and lack of ambition, my career progressed far beyond my very best expectations, and this is something I could never explain. Immunity to change helped me discover below the surface my need for achievement, and beneath this, my hidden fear of failure. This combination led me to be self-blaming, but also over-responsible. We are the greatest enemies of our own self, and we think we know, but we don't know what we don't know.
So how did your personal experience with the coaching as an individual affect your professional work with your coaching clients?
I joined Immunity to Change with a prime objective to learn about myself more. Being in a demanding leadership role in the banking sector for many years, I had trained myself to look strong. On top, I was too focused on others, without at the same time creating the space for self-investment. But Immunity to Change is about self-investment, so allowing myself to be vulnerable was the first uneasy step. Moving out of comfort zone is not easy. The experience was powerful, and it still is. Of course, there were ups and downs, as it is hard to accept the extent to which our perceptions shape our reality. It was halfway on my immunity to change practice when I could feel my struggle with both my self-learning and my big number of coaches. At that point only, for the first time, I could see behind this decision my achievement-driven personality and the extent to which I tend to push myself to the edge. But the outcome was reciprocal, as I had the opportunity to practice immunity to change with a variety of clients. Clients with different immune systems and clients with different levels of readiness to change. This, combined with observing myself in the relationship when connecting the dots, was great learning. I could see how different and unique we all are in the way we think and react. and I could see my reactions into clients' behaviors and how our big assumptions, when activated, can actually distort our conversations.
So Sonia, you speak a little bit there about how your personal work appeared in your work with your coaching clients. But I was wondering if you'd share with me how immunity to change has changed your coaching approach as a professional coach.
The reality is that as a leader, while I was always trying to helping others overcome their obstacles and move on, there were times where I could feel quite ineffective. And those were the times when a technical solution was not enough for the problem to be solved. I could then see that mindset change is hard to achieve. Immunity to change gave me an effective method to reach the heart of the problem and enable mindset change. The big difference is that now I enter the conversation not with an attitude to fix the problem, but rather with an attitude to learn. This attitude creates the space for both the client and myself to explore rather than jump into surface solutions and quick fixes.
Interesting. So, can you think of an example of a time where you saw your own big assumptions at play in a coaching situation?
Several come to mind, but I will mention one that really boosted my motivation for continuous self-learning. It was early on my immunity to change practice when I met with all my appointed coaches in order to find out their true appetite for a self-awareness experience, but also talk about how we were going to work with each other. Amongst my 26 coaches, the curiosity for self-exploration was varying, and I could feel my motivation towards those of the coaches who were more eager and willing to embark. So I thought that it would be fair for those less interested to have the option to sign up for a session whenever they feel they want to talk about something where I could make a contribution. A few days later, I was discussing this with my coach, and Deb said to me, "Sonia, this sounds like a good strategy, but why don't you check whether there's any motivation behind this behavior?" I couldn't see what this might mean, so I went back to my map, and I could then see some possible connections. So I decided to explore. What I found out was that without even realizing it, I was projecting failure. If the client did not experience meaningful change, it would be my fault. So I was unconsciously protecting myself from an undesired outcome. This was a very alerting experience for me on a personal level, but it also helped me well understand the communication and trust challenge within organizations.
Excellent. No, those connections between your own immunity to change work and your work with your clients, are really interesting to hear that. So thank you. How do you find your clients first react to this new type of coaching for them? How do you encourage them to stick with it?
There can't be doubt in the beginning. Clients often come to talk about their problems with others or the situation around them, but not about themselves. Digging into the vulnerable side of who we are can be quite uncomfortable. Change is hard, so I try to reach the clients where they are in the present moment while helping them to focus on just themselves. I put a lot of emphasis on all the preparatory work, which is gradually building the client's motivation for meaningful change. I keep the clients focused on self-observations and on separating facts from emotions. And I empower them to raise their expectations while envisioning success. But I also encourage the clients to regularly monitor their progress and see the mountain they have already climbed rather than the mountain ahead.
Ah, interesting. Thank you. Shifting gears a little bit in our interview here, I'm wondering if you'd be able to share with us what your biggest takeaway from the coach certification program was.
We don't know what we don't know. Fearing the unknown is our biggest obstacle. It is important to respect the client's readiness for meaningful change and to create the necessary space for change to be embraced as a learning experience.
So do you have any advice for coaches who might be thinking about this program?
Join with an attitude to learn more about yourselves first. Aim to experience meaningful change and through this discover your true potential as a coach.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you for sharing that personal observation, your thoughts about the program. It was really just a delight for me to learn about your kind of personal immunity to change work, digging in deep there, how that affected your now professional experience and your work with clients within the immunity to change approach. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview.
It has been my pleasure, Catherine.